As you all may know, I'm actually a really big fan of VR technology. That is to say, virtual reality technology. I'm actually kind of a young fan to it as well because for a very long time, I thought it was kind of a gimmick, a very expensive, nauseating gimmick. I was wrong though. The game that convinced me I was wrong was a game called Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Actually, I want to show you a little Walking Dead Saints and Sinners gameplay. Here's like an idea of what is possible nowadays in VR. I was not at all aware that VR technology had reached this point. This is a demo. So I want to remind all of you, this is VR. So those hand movements, what's being grabbed, what's being aimed and shot, this is being done with controllers that track your hand motions. So like when you make a fist in the game, etc. Right? At least if you're using the VR headset I ended up getting, which was the Valve Index. And I love VR. It's really, really cool. And once I got my VR headset, I started to check out other VR games. And quickly, one of my favorites became VR chat. VR chat is really cool and really interesting. Now, it has its problems, oh, believe me. But it was really fun, because there was a while there, back when I had my VR stuff set up, I don't hear because this room's too small. Back when I had my VR stuff set up, where like, after almost every stream, I was like, by the way, any of my fans, download VR chat for free on Steam. If you have a VR headset, use that, or you don't need one, and hop on VR chat. We'll make a lobby in like one of these games where you're literally, it's like you're inside of a penthouse apartment, and it looks really nice, and there's a giant flat screen TV, and everyone can just sit down on the couch or on their chairs in real life, but in the game it looks like you're sitting on a couch together and just literally watch anything on that TV. You could queue up YouTube videos. You could illegally pirate movies and TV shows. It was really, really fucking cool. And we did watch parties and like get-togethers and fan meetups in VR chat like that for a while. And I want to get back to doing that. But all of this is to say, VR, virtual reality, and augmented reality really interests me. And I genuinely do believe something not too dissimilar to like the Oasis from Ready Player One might be in our hands, virtually speaking, within the next 30 years. Maybe 20 or less. Definitely, at most, 30 years. Now, I'm not saying you'll be popped in, like hacked into your brain and it'll feel real and everything. What I'm saying is you will be able to put on a VR headset and have a VR experience as far as like the gameplay and the multiplayer abilities and everything goes. Not too dissimilar to the Oasis from Ready Player One. And I think that's something that a lot of people who are aware of VR and who like VR really, really want. They want it badly. For a while, I thought deep down, despite how much negativity there was towards it, that maybe Facebook's Meta could be that. You see, I was a naysayer about VR before I actually tried it out and realized how good it was. Perhaps the internet is just not giving this MetaVerse thing a chance. However, it seems like not only has MetaVerse been maybe not finished, but more or less made ready for people to use, it has been received very badly and has basically failed. Failed so badly that it has tanked Facebook's stock prices, which I do think is kind of funny. The only problem with this is, or the thing that I find a little bit tragic about all of it is the fact that I don't know. I feel like it kind of might scare a lot of companies away from trying something like this in the future, even if they want to do it better. But maybe it won't. Maybe that's just me being a little bit too doomer about it. Regardless, though, Marques Brownlee, massive YouTuber, massive fucking YouTuber, 16.3 million subscribers. He does tech videos. They're pretty good. If you like tech and, internet stuff, like if you want to be caught up on what's going on with technology, his content, his channel is a good place to be. He generally gets like a lot of his hands on like a lot of technology early too. So there's a good chance he might actually have played or used the metaverse before and actually have had like hands-on experience at some point. I don't know if that's true though, but that's just my knowledge going in. Very possible. But this video is number 35 on trending. It's about who cares about the metaverse, and what I'm hoping to find out is like what's up with the metaverse, why did it fail, and is there any hope for it? Is there any hope for this type of VR experience in the future? Or the near future?
Somebody tell me why this was never in any of Meta's presentations. How is me putting a phone camera in the Quest Pro headset the most compelling demo of VR I've seen in like the last 5 years? But I have some hot takes on this whole metaverse thing that I kept to myself for a little while, but I think it's finally time to share them, so buckle up. Let's get into it. So Meta's stock is down over 60% this year. Facebook's growth has flatlined, and their CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, has doubled down on this commitment to the whole metaverse thing, which they've continued to pour tons and tons of money into. It's like, what is going on here? But let's just zoom out a second and start with some definitions. VR is virtual reality, which is, putting the headset on and being completely immersed in a new virtual world. AR is augmented reality, which is overlaying virtual things on top of the real world.
So like basically like VR is when you put on a headset and you're like in a game. You're in a video game. There's zombies everywhere. You're on the street of like the New Orleans cities, right? That's VR. AR would be like, you've got like a phone screen, like hologram that hovers in front of you while you're walking down the street, going about your day. That would be augmented reality.
I'm going to use those a lot in this video. Those two things.
Yeah, an augmented reality, very good example of it is Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was an AR game, an augmented reality game. AR is like those Google glasses. I remember when Google glasses like were first announced and like rolling out, and I was like, damn, these things are going to be around pretty soon, right? Now it's like 2022. I mean, I know that some people have them, but they're just like not very good.
Things though are both particularly hard to demo. You kind of have to try it and use it to actually understand it and appreciate it. So I know there's a lot of curiosity about VR, especially...
This is completely true. Like, YouTube videos are incapable of giving you the full understanding of how immersive VR is. When you put on like a Oculus Rift, no, not Oculus Rift, what's it called? The Valve Index. When you put on the Valve Index and you get like all the settings on like the headset, right? It really feels like you're there. Like there's no screen there. It just feels like you're in that world. Everything is 3D. You reach out, and not only does your hand reach out in the environment, but when you pick things up, you actually pick things up. Unlike a hologram that's fake, your hand doesn't just go through it. You actually pick up the thing in the game, or your hand can't go through the wall you're trying to push it through in the game. Even if there's no resistance in real life, there's in-game feedback that's very... It gets to the point where my first few times playing a game in VR, I took the VR headset off, and I had to go for a few grabs at the water bottle before I actually managed to grab it correctly, because I was used to my arm proportions being shorter in VR. And my arms were longer in real life. I was actually like having a hard time adjusting to my real body in real life because I was so used to the world that I had existed in VR. You even get like, if you play enough horror games in VR, you'll start to get flashes out the corner of your eyes in the dark after you play it, you know? Because you'll start to see things where they aren't at, you know? Like it can really fuck you up on your first few times using VR because you're just not used to it, but you do get used to it. That does go away after a while, but for a little while when you first start using VR stuff, you almost get that bleed through effect thing from the Animus in Assassin's Creed
lately, and it can be kind of hard to tell if it's like just another trend in tech like 3D TVs, whatever happened to those, or if it's actually the future that we'll all be living in, like Ready Player One, or maybe
I think it'll be a bit of both. I don't think like the experience of sitting down on your computer and being able to play a video game, I don't think that'll ever go away. You know what I mean? I think we'll always have people that would rather just sit down on their computer and play a video game. VR just does not work seamlessly enough to be a replacement, you know? Like, maybe if it was like this headset, right? Like if it had like a 24-hour battery life, wireless headset, weighed about as much as this, and I could literally just put this on like this, I guess, and it's just boom, you've entered the oasis. You know, maybe then, you know, everybody would be doing it and there'd be absolutely no excuse not to. But right now, the best VR like gear requires you to have like several connections and like a hook in your ceiling to keep the wire from tripping you. You have to have like pads on your floor to keep so you know that you're not stepping out of your play area, and there's like the risk of throwing your fucking like your controller or breaking your headset. There's just so much that goes into it. It's not at that level of fidelity. You have to take off your headset just to get a drink of water. You have to take off one controller, unstrap one, and a headset to get a drink of water. Or have someone in the room with you to like, hey, water. Thank you. You know, like it is currently at least not a replacement for traditional gaming.
be more like Wally. Hard to tell. Either way, there's basically one visible mega company that's clearly pushing all their chips in on this definitely being our future, and that's Meta, formerly known as Facebook, with their CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. This guy right here. And he explained to me many times that they really believe in this MetaVerse thing. And he showed me all of this Quest Pro stuff right before it was announced on stage. So I got to form my opinions on it before.
You know what's actually kind of like unsettling is that you can kind of tell Mark Zuckerberg is kind of fit. Like Mark Zuckerberg is probably actually in pretty good shape right now. It's scary to think this wax man is probably actually pretty muscular underneath the shirt. People who know about like lifting and bodybuilding can tell. Yeah, he's probably pretty ripped underneath that shirt.
He showed me all of this Quest,
which is absolutely terrifying. Absolutely fucking terrifying.
Pro stuff right before it was announced on stage, so I got to form my opinions on it before the slightly more cringeworthy presentation version we've all seen. The metaverse might have a pretty terrible reputation already, but let's try to take a step back, look at it objectively like a piece of tech.
Okay.
Shall we?
That's what I want. This is what I've needed. This is what I've been looking for.
So, like I said, VR is one of those things you kind of have to try to understand and appreciate, but also the spectrum of how much people care about the metaverse is hilarious. Like all the way from not caring at all and never having tried VR in their life, all the way to like serious believers, like companies hiring a chief metaverse officer and a metaverse.
Well, the scary thing as well is that metaverse has already reached market saturation. Who doesn't know what metaverse is? Not one of you didn't know what metaverse was. It's already reached market saturation before rolling out fully. Yeah, we have one liar. So, like, there has to be a fundamental change in the quality of the metaverse, if it is bad, to change things. Because, like, it's not a matter of, oh, it hasn't reached the right audience. Everyone knows about it. This product has already reached full market saturation.
Being in every headline and just like a weird obsession with it. So it can be kind of hard to give a single answer to this, but I actually think it's pretty simple. The internet as we have it right now, is mostly controlled by two things: ads and devices. So if you control the ads, then you're the one connecting people to the things that they buy. That's basically what Google does. Like, Google's job is to know everything they possibly can about people and then show them ads for things, not just on Google search results, but all over the internet with Google AdWords. Pretty much every company in the world who does online advertising pays Google to do it for them.
I think it's what was it? Facebook knows you better than your own parents. Or no, Facebook knows you better than you do, I think is the stat. Or not the stat, but like the conclusion of a study and a collection of stats and data found through Facebook's algorithm. That was like the vast majority of people whose data had been collected by Facebook knew them better than they knew themselves. So that is to say, Facebook has an entire database of people, what they post, how they speak, what interests and things they like, and they're able to compare and contrast millions, tens, hundreds of millions of people across their platform to figure out trends. And they can pretty reliably predict what kind of things you'll like. Well, it's why chances are if you go on Facebook and you look at the ads tailored for you for like TV shows and movies, it's probably stuff that you'd like. Even if you've never engaged with Facebook in a way that would indicate you like that product, right? So for example, if you're like very edgy and like just very, edgy and loud and controversial on Facebook, then there's a good chance that maybe Facebook recommends you The Boys, because they know that people are memeing the fuck out of Homelander right now. Somebody who gets off on being super edgy and whatnot probably would like this show about Homeland, like about this character that's been memed, right? Where Homelander's in it, right? So like you can Facebook can make generalizations like that pretty safely, and it works. It's why they've been such a successful company up until the point of their terrible business decisions by the looks of it with Meta.
For them. So for as much as we talk about like the Pixel and Google Chrome and Android on this channel, Google is at its core.
Wait, chat. Facebook knows you're gay or trans before you do. It's true.
An ads business. And then if you control the devices people use, then you very much have control over what makes it to people's eyeballs. Facebook has wanted to make a popular device, but they don't make one. Trust me, they've tried. But now, in 2022, as popular as Facebook is, they have clearly saturated the market. They've peaked. They've begun their inevitable very slow decline. And so they've made their bazillions of dollars. But now, with things like the iPhone adding that Ask App Not to Track button, that took a multi-billion-dollar chunk out of Facebook's ads business. Didn't really hurt Google as much because people still go to google.com and type in a box what they're looking for. Google still knows a lot about people. So bottom line is Facebook is accepting that L. They dominated the early parts of.
Isn't it interesting that the more privacy and freedom the user base of a platform has, the less money the platform makes? Oh, we're going to stop collecting here's an option that allows you to opt out of us collecting your information and selling it to companies and advertisers. If you click it though, we make a lot less money. Your privacy costs us. Your privacy costs us. You can see why these corporations would have an interest in fighting things like laws that make it so they have to have a button like that where you can opt out of them collecting your personal data to sell to companies and whatnot.
To the internet, and that was great, but now the slow decline has begun and they're moving on to the next big thing. And if you could look all around at all the technologies that could maybe be the next big thing, that one thing that keeps bubbling back up to the surface has been VR and AR. And so Facebook, Meta, can control as much of this VR future as possible. The software, the hardware, the ads, the things that make it to people's eyeballs, then they will regain the control and the money that they're after. So cue them rebranding themselves to Meta and pouring billions and billions of dollars into that exact.
He really does not look like a real person. Why does he look like that? I'm not joking, chat. What happened? I swear he wasn't like this when I was a kid. Like when Mark Zuckerberg was like the nerdy dude who started Facebook when I was a kid, he didn't look like a fucking android. He must actively be feeding into if this is on purpose, if this is like makeup or something, if this is on purpose, he is purposefully feeding into the reptilian conspiracy theories.
Mission. Okay, so
Yeah,
this
he
might
has
be
no
kind of a hot
eyebrows.
take, but the Meta Quest Pro, this headset, is $1,500, and I'll explain the thinking behind that in a second, but it is actually pretty good. It's
Okay. I can understand 1,500. So to give you guys an idea, the Valve Index, which I saved up for like 4 months for, was $1,000. This is $500 more. It better be worth it. It seems to be wireless, which is a good start. What's its battery life like? And what's the quality like? If it's quality wise the same as the Index, or just a little bit better, or maybe even a little worse, but you get the trade-off of wireless with some pretty damn good battery life, and it comes with controllers, assuming it comes with controllers, I can see that price tag being not too insane. Zan, there is one that sells for $8,000 and it's incredible. Really? Holy shit. Ugh. I don't think I'd ever drop that much money on a VR headset unless it literally jacked into my brain and like it was full on VR like sci-fi shit.
pretty good, technologically speaking, a pretty good headset. It is much more comfortable than a lot of others I've tried, so they've split the components now between the displays and lenses in the front and speakers and buttons through the middle, and then the battery at the back. It is lighter than it looks, but I think it's more about the balance and the weight. Here you can see, feels like the balance point is right in the middle there, which is better. But then you put it on and you look like this. Here you go. Boom. And without the blockers on the side, there is a little bit of a gap, and you do have peripheral vision light coming in from the sides and not.
That's really bad. Having any light peripheral vision coming in from the sides is really bad. You should not be able to see someone's eyes when they look up or down or left or right when they're wearing a VR headset. At the very least, a nice foam padding to help seal to the face is like that alone would have helped.
At the top. Inside, there is a custom Snapdragon XR2 Plus processor, 256 gigs of storage, 12 gigs.
Damn. Okay, so this is like a little internal computer
Of RAM, and then a slimmer set of displays and lenses, and then the screens inside are giving you 1920 by 1800 per eye at up to 90 FPS, and it can do this decent full color pass through with the 10 sensors and cameras.
This AR stuff isn't too bad. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about this, all right? This is cool and all, but I can do exactly this with my Valve Index. I've literally done it. Where I'll just, like, whenever I'm feeling, like, a little bit down, I would just put on my VR headset and load up, like, you know how when you load up, like, the Steam VR thing, you can pick, like, a starter, like, location, house, hub, whatever? I downloaded one that was literally Bilbo Baggins' house and, like, Hobbiton and the Shire from Lord of the Rings. And I would literally just chill in the living room of Bilbo's house. It's really cozy and it's really high quality. And I could literally put my monitors for my computer as like holograms in front of me. I did it for a segment once, actually. Hold on. Wait, I can show you exactly. I did this for a segment once. Xander Hall VR. Yeah, here we go. Look at this that they've made. You guys want me to do more streams like this when I'm in Seattle? Look at this shit. Is this supposed to be like a alternative to YouTube? What is this supposed to be even, actually?
Called PocketNet. It already exists, and only the users decide which content is appropriate for them on PocketNet. When you get high ratings for your content or comments, you earn Pocket Coin for that, and you increase your PocketNet reputation along the way. It's pretty cool, as you can.
This is no bullshit's last video he ever uploaded. This is me covering it.
Now, these are actually
not
pretty
Angry Joe. So you can see I've got my chat. This is what I see on one screen. This is the chat up here. I could literally look over and you could see the chat. And then on the other screen, we had the video I was covering. So when I turned to look at chat, you guys would see my head turning to look at it as well. But I was also still on the screen. Looking at VR recordings makes me seasick. There's been a few people in chat who have said that. But yeah, let me know if you guys would like more content like that when I get to Seattle, because I can't set up my VR again until I am in Seattle, and I have the space for it. Anyway, back to it. Sorry, I just wanted to show you an example of, like, you can kind of do that without meta already.
Scattered around the outside. It's not the best pass-through I've ever seen, but it does work, and it lets you feel like you're in a normal environment. Plus, there's these new Touch Pro controllers, which have cameras and sensors of their own, and they will charge on a single dock through some pins, which you'll be doing often because sadly the headset does just have like a 1.5 hour battery life when unplugged. But then there's also a suite of sensors on the
1.5 hours is rough, dog. You know what's holding back these wireless headsets? Battery capacity. If that, like, I would honestly be fine with a little bit more weight if they just distribute more batteries for more weight along the sides, so it's not like imbalanced. They could pull that off. I would take even a pound more weight on my head if it meant like an hour or two more battery life on this thing. Like, I think 3.5 hours is a good amount of battery life for one of these things. Like, if it could last that long and it was good quality, I'd be like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, it's pretty good. Because, like, I don't know if like more than 3 hours in VR is healthy for you, honestly, because you really get immersed in a separate reality, and there are probably going to be studies in the future about the negative effects of spending too much time in virtual reality, because it is, when you have a good VR headset and good controllers and a good game, good audio and everything, it is really immersive. It's something else.
The inside, facing your eyes, facing your face for face tracking. Okay, right now I'm looking at an alien face, but a little bit more interesting than that is the alien face is in real time showing what the headset sees my face doing. And so every expression that I make, every little facial movement.
That's cool. That's really cool, and the kind of thing I want in, like, VR chat. I want, like, the mouth and facial movements to be completely synced up in VR games like VR chat and any other multiplayer VR game where I can talk to other players and stuff. I want to be able to walk up to somebody and be able to have, like, an expressive conversation in a VR game. That would be awesome. Yeah, there are other games that do that allow you to quick switch between, like, visual, like, facial emotions while you speak, and as you talk in game, your mouth opens and closes. There are games that do that, but this is a whole other level.
Oh, the eye movements.
This is face tracking. This is like mocap.
It's kind of a lot of the little things too, like the little muscles on your face that move when you talk and you make little micro expressions. So if I was in a virtual world and trying to convey,
basically, for the quality of mocap that we're trying to achieve, like, we're literally trying to get the technology used to make God of War, like the new God of War games, like that mocap technology, the mocap technology used to make, like, The Last of Us 2. We're trying to make that accessible to everybody in a VR headset. That level of mocap on the face. That's a lot to ask of a headset that's battery powered.
Emotions to another person, then
that's the ideal.
See everything.
That's the ideal future of VR technology.
That's pretty cool. VR and AR both work pretty well through this headset. But at the end of the day, it still is a pretty chunky, it's a pretty big headset. It doesn't fold down either, so if you want to travel with it, you need like a bag or a backpack. This version might not be tempting to you. Zuckerberg keeps telling me, people buy a new $2,000 machine as their desktop computer all the time, and this is maybe a replacement for that someday. But this might not be tempting to you. But theoretically, in a couple of years, a new version of it is much, much smaller, closer to like a regular pair of glasses. And then even further down the road, another version is even smaller, maybe lightweight like Google Glass used to be back in the day. And then eventually, it's an incredible, actually portable piece of tech. And so, theoretically, if you pour enough money and talent into something, it can become amazing. Which leads me...
That's the thing. Like, my thought process has been, there's no way Facebook, now Meta, doesn't have the money to just zerg at this project till they make a massive breakthrough in VR technology. Like, fuck Facebook, fuck these massive corporations and all. They can go bankrupt for all I care. Don't you think it would be nice if they invented a massive breakthrough in VR technology while going bankrupt? Like, that's the best case scenario in my mind. The tech is actually great. Yeah, like I do think that like there could be a day that comes where naysayers of the metaverse look really dumb. I'm not saying it's definite, but I do think it's possible.
Brings me to my next point.
Is it actually the future?
This is the real question here. Every time I see a new VR headset pop up, whether it's this like Pico Pro headset or the Meta Quest Pro or anything like that, the question is always like, is this VR thing really actually going to be the future? Like, it's cool with tech and it works and everything, but are we actually going to be spending meaningful time in VR at some point? And the answer, of course, depends on who you ask, obviously. I feel like I've noticed
I think at some point we will. I think that the bounds of VR, when broken, our current bounds of VR, as they are broken, are going to open up possibilities so enticing and so tempting, they're going to be irresistible. Think about Fortnite. Fortnite's a lot like what the metaverse wants to be. Like Marshmello and like large like music artists like Ariana Grande and Juice WRLD have done concerts in Fortnite. What? That's crazy. Imagine that 12, 10, 5 years ago, before Fortnite came out. Fortnite's getting VR support too. It'll be huge. Holy fuck. I will play Fortnite VR. I will play the fuck out of Fortnite VR. I will play the fuck out of Fortnite VR. Well, apparently my skins didn't go to waste after all. Yeah, I'd stop playing Fortnite. If they're making VR Fortnite, that sounds really cool. I think there are so many possibilities, both gaming-wise and just... God, have you ever seen Google Earth VR? Just the ability to experience hypothetical or real places in VR alone, just that technology is so valuable. Google Earth VR gameplay, no commentary. I don't want any commentary with this. I just want to... Here we go. All right. This is what Google Earth VR looks like. Tell me VR doesn't have a future in some way.
This is so boring.
Okay, this guy's got an intro and everything. Okay, let's get to the content.
So we can play VR now. Specifically, I wanted to try Google Earth VR because it's easy to use and you know, it's a pretty simple game, pretty simple concept. You just walk around the Earth and, you know, do stuff. I didn't know Chicago had a Ferris wheel. What the hell? I didn't see this when I went there. I guess we learn something every day. Oh, if you want to see the city at night, and it's beautiful at night, you just take the sun and you smash into the horizon, and there's no city lights because It's Google Earth. But you see, the galaxy is pretty cool. Not like you could see that in like Space Engine or something. But yeah, that's Chicago. Let's move on. Okay, a slight step up from Chicago. This is the entire Earth. Where should we go? Let's go to Hollywood. Here's the Hollywood sign. Most movies are made somewhere in this region. Like, okay, hold on. This region I'm outlining right here makes like 50% of all the movies ever made. I've discovered the gold mine here. There's just is this the Harry Potter land? This is the Harry Potter land.
Soy!
Yes, I found Hogwarts.
Soy!
I'm thinking that this is Hogwarts.
This is only going to get, this is clearly Hogsmeade. This is only going to get more detailed as time goes by the way. Like, this is Google Earth satellite data. That this 3D fully explorable Google Earth world is built on. Fucking satellite data. This is only going to get more accurate,
not
more
entirely
realistic.
100%
This is just
sure,
PS1 graphics right now.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You can literally go and explore anywhere in the world you want right now with PS1 graphics. Yeah, it's kind of like Microsoft Flight Simulator, yeah.
I'm sure now. Look at that.
Even
That's
North
cool.
Korea,
That's
technically,
so cool.
yeah.
I like. Is that Matthew Centaro? Okay, here's downtown Los Angeles. It's pretty freaking big. Which one is it?
Anyway, as you can see, regardless of whether or not it's gaming or just like exploring physical environments, I think VR has a future. VR also has a really big future for art. Zan, Unreal Engine 5 recently got their Lumen and Nanite stuff working for VR, so now we can have super high fidelity if you have a computer for it. Let's go! Yeah, when I get a 4090, that VR shit's gonna go hard.
The younger the person is that you talk to, the more likely they are to want to give VR a chance or to try it more often. But if you ask Meta, if you ask anyone in leadership at Meta, the answer is yes, absolutely 100%. This is the future that we are all going to be living in, using VR all the time. MetaVerse for sure. Now, of course, they have to believe in that because the
Fortune
whole company
favors the bold.
is a huge ship barreling in that exact direction. But also watching the presentation of everything at the Meta Connect keynote, as miserable and awkward as it was, the more you watch, the more it kind of crystallizes their whole plan for me. Basically, step one, think of all the things people normally do on the internet. Step two, make those things in VR and then pour tons of money into them. And then that's kind of the whole plan. If you get the time and you actually get to watch through that presentation, it happens over and over again, where basically they realize that people do certain things in real life, and then they want to bring that thing into VR. Oh, you'd like to do this? Here's a VR version. Oh, you do this other thing? Here's a VR version. Over and over again. And ideally, for them anyway, convincing people to use the VR version.
That's a bad idea. VR shouldn't focus on creating experiences you can have in real life. It should focus on creating experiences you can't have in real life and that you can only have in VR. What sounds more interesting to you? A VR, if you could only use the Star Trek holodeck one time, what location synthesized on that holodeck would you rather visit? A normal Earth beach with like crystal clear blue water and like a nice like tropical destination, somewhere you could go in real life and experience as long as you like many times, or like, I don't know, the surface of like an alien planet teeming with alien life you could explore. You want to create experiences you can only have in VR. That is what will attract people. Things that make people go, whoa, if I get a VR headset, I can do that? Okay, I need to save up for one of these. That's the kind of impression you want to give people.
Just will become a matter of making the VR version really, really good. Hopefully better than the real life version. And that's where I think my hot take comes in, which is that some of these VR applications are actually scary good and starting to look better than the non-VR version. And for Meta, if they can get enough of these things to be real, then they'll be making this MetaVerse thing happen.
Gretchen, stop trying to make
MetaVerse
happen. It's not going to happen.
Okay, so some are easier than others, right? Gaming,
Are Mean Girls memes still in, guys? I guess they are.
Yeah, we've got some good games already in VR. Now, we got to work on getting more, like a better variety of games, better
Oh my god,
fidelity,
it's
etc.,
sussies.
more immersion, and pouring
Little
money into this
sussies.
ecosystem will entice developers to rapidly improve games and make better games, which is awesome. But there's more to life than just games. What else do people do all day in 2022? Zoom calls? Okay, perfect. Yes, they've got Zoom calls, but better. They've built an entire virtual meeting room experience where you can do
That's cool.
video conferencing in VR with other people. So, if some of your friends or coworkers don't have VR headsets,
Me and the boys planning war crimes in VR.
that's fine. They'll show up as a floating video feed in the MetaVerse. But now with a bunch of people in meetings, you can talk to the people around you. You can do breakout meeting rooms instantly. Really good immersive present.
We can do a lot of this in VR chat. We can do a lot of this in VR chat, and a big problem is they gotta change the avatars. Like, the avatars are... Think about it like this, right? So, everybody on the internet judges a book by its cover, and if that cover has anything they can poke fun at, they will poke fun at it instead of taking it seriously. And these avatars look like Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa. Do you eat the sugar? No, Papa. Why you lie? Whatever the fuck, however it goes. You know those videos? It looks like Cocoa Melon animation, which is just off-putting to people. It looks soulless and cash grabby. Even if it's not, it looks that way. It feels that way. You have to make it, at the very least, obviously they should be focusing on the core functionality first and foremost, and I do like if that's what they're focusing on, but they need to at least put out a statement that, like, this is placeholder art. This design for, like, avatars is placeholder art. Like, yeah, like, me avatars would look better than this, because they would be leaning all the way into the cartoonish this. This just looks too... uncanny valley, you know? Like, either try to lean heavily into making it look real or make it fully cartoony and stylized. Don't try to get a weird uncanny valley blend of both. Yeah, like Xbox avatars.
Presentations, etc. Now, currently, as you can tell, these are all using these avatars. And these, I think, are bad. They're pretty cringy. I mean, you can customize them, of course, with a bunch of different things, different hair and features and outfits and piercings, etc., which is kind of neat, sure, but you still end up feeling like a MetaVerse meeting is just a bunch of Mii characters from Nintendo Wii. But it's
Wait, but the Mii characters would be better.
very much a stopgap, because we also saw that Meta announced this live avatar demo that looked absolutely...
Wait. It is placeholder. You know? Dude, if this is just the early iteration of this technology, holy fuck. Chat, I know it's easy to go to, like, immediately try to doomer about stuff like this, but I don't think you guys realize how impressive this is. This is extremely impressive. This is the VR headset scanning their faces and creating their faces speaking in real time and moving in real time in a digital environment.
Wild to me. You can essentially use your phone to take a scan of yourself, and then the headset takes that and puts a photorealistic version of you into the virtual environment.
So it's actually not like face mocap technology, it's actually that face scanning and animation technology where they, like, make a picture of somebody sing. It's more like that than like mocapping. Interesting. So we'll see this technology get better along with that technology that makes those funny pictures sing songs as those get better.
Complete with that face tracking and eye tracking and everything that we talked about before. That is super next level. So you can imagine now,
there's actually, like, texture mapping to it as well, so it's not all flat.
now instead of just a Zoom call with coworkers, a really good meeting is a bunch of people from all over the world all in one room with all the advantages of the eye contact and relative...
Imagine the deep fakes. Oh god. Holy fuck. Dude, I hope I make my bag and I'm able to theoretically retire before deepfake technology gets to the point where you can basically fake anyone doing anything. That is going to be a terrifying age of the internet. That is literally the age of the internet that Metal Gear Solid Revengeance was warning us about. The one with Senator Armstrong. I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Of audio positioning and being able to like lean over to the person next to you and say something really quietly just to them. All of this is stuff that you can't really do in a Zoom call. And so just replace these weird avatars with the hyper realistic ones and they might be onto something. But that's just meetings. That's not even that much time. What else do people do? Maybe they just work remotely, period. Sure, okay, then they'll build.
The ideal VR experience is putting on a VR headset, popping into a fantasy world with my friends who are also there with me, and going and like slaying some monsters in a dungeon for gear to continuously like gear up our real life looking avatars, our real life us looking avatars in the game, and it feels like we're really having that experience. So basically WoW in VR, but it feels like you're in real life, you know, not WoW, but like a generic fantasy setting, right? Of some kind. You know, me and my friends running a dungeon. Like, that is the kind of experience, like some Sword Art Online bullshit. That is the kind of experience I want out of VR, ideally.
Build this whole metaverse, this whole virtual office building for people to work in. So if they work all over the world in different countries, they can all collaborate in the same spaces. But even the first thing I showed in this video, which is just simply working on your computer, which is a thing that many people do for many hours a day. And the Quest Pro has native Mac support that let me project my Mac screen onto these multiple huge virtual screens. So you can take a huge triple monitor setup wherever you go. Basically.
I can do that.
You can just take this headset
with my Valve Index
and do way more with fairly high resolution that can again get better with time and more money. They've poured money into Microsoft to bring Office 365 and Word and Excel and everything into workrooms natively. They've poured money into...
That's still a decade away at least. I think technology is one of those things that can really surprise you, you know? It's sort of like... It's almost like a boiling pot. Rising and rising. The water level's rising and rising and rising. More like faster and faster and faster. But it's rising in different areas. At different speeds, at different times, right? So, like, right now, for 500,000 euros, you can go buy basically a fucking sea moth from Subnautica. I've talked about it and ranted and raved about it plenty on stream. I don't need to say more. It's called the Nemo 2. You can look it up on Google if you're interested. The Nemo 2. That is a thing that fucking exists. So when we live in a world with technology like that, it makes me think maybe like very high fidelity VR and augmented reality lifestyle changes aren't that far off, you know? Maybe it is less than a decade away, 6 or 8 years away. When the technology comes out, I think it might happen more overnight than you expect. Like, you might even be late to the party on realizing it's happened. And that's the surprising thing about crazy, cool technology like this.
Accenture to give them, like, thousands.
I think a lot of it also has to do with, like, faux futurists like Elon Musk basically distracting everybody from real technological innovations and massive things to be excited about in the tech industry towards his, like, snake oil... unfulfillable promises that he just keeps on pushing the goalpost on when they're supposed to happen.
Thousands and thousands of VR headsets to get those people to use the metaverse to work virtually all the time. Basically, Meta can and will dump a ton of money into this because that's all they're doing right now. There's like a common trope that, like, if you want to make a bunch of money as a startup right now, just make a virtual reality tech startup in some way. And you will eventually level up enough to just get acquired by Meta. It's no wonder chief metaverse officers became a thing. That became a way to, like, make it seem like you might get acquired by...
That sounds scary. It kind of sounds like how Netflix has this problem with literally picking up almost every project they get offered. instead of like sitting like really trying to lean into making a few flagship shows, having a good release schedule for them so that there's always one running at any given time, and heavily advertising each one in the time that they're running and giving them a longer window to run. That's what Netflix needs to do. And I worry that a similar bad business decision is what Meta's making here that might fuck over their VR aspirations. I want the metaverse to succeed. I want it to be the best it can possibly be and to be good and to succeed. That is the best case scenario for anybody who likes VR technology.
By Meta. But that brings us to the last thing. There's only one problem that I have with...
No, it's not. Actually, no. I'll adjust that. The best case scenario is Meta collapses, but all of the money and manpower they put into these projects ends up yielding massive breakthroughs in the industry that less shitty corporations or companies or startups end up using to create what people actually want. That would be the best case scenario. There you go.
All of this, which is that one company controlling the entire foundation of this second generation internet, if you want to call it that, this metaverse, is a terrible idea. So this comes down to Meta wanting as much control over this future as possible. Facebook was built on someone else's foundation. They want to build the next foundation and then be the ones responsible for everything that grows up on top of it. The workrooms, the games, the experiences, everything. So that they're pretty visibly pouring as much money into it now as possible to get as far ahead as possible. Now, plenty of other companies are developing and making really cool VR stuff now along those same lines, don't get me wrong. There's the Pico headset I just showed you. There are stuff from Google, stuff from, I think we all expect in the next year or so, Apple to finally unveil their VR headset, which I think will...
Do you guys think Apple's VR headset will be good? Or do you think it'll be some really bare bones, bullshit, overpriced garbage? We'll have to wait and see.
Make Meta a little bit nervous because Apple will for sure make sure that's the best one for iPhone users. But Meta has already, made so many connections and built so many technologies and bought up so many VR companies and VR studios that it sucks. But it's like, if there's any company that can be positioned to bring this technology over the hump to make it a thing, then it's Meta. But the downside of that one, especially this company, having possibly that much control over people and over the future of the internet, and possibly doing crazy things like using eye tracking to make sure you see certain ads, is way too much for me to want to root for it at all. I've said it before, but when companies...
Oh, what? Oh my god, that wasn't that literally an episode of Black Mirror? That was an episode of Black Mirror. That was actually an episode of Black Mirror. Isn't that from, what was it, the 60 million credits or whatever? That's actually fun. Oh god. Oh boy.
Truly compete, that is actually when we win. When there's actually real incentive to get better because competition makes them better, that's when we get better stuff. But man, Mark's metaverse money might make the Meta thing much more mainstream, or maybe not.
What do you guys think, chat? What do you guys think? What are your theories? I honestly don't know. I actually want Metaverse to uncover some massive or break through some massive change or upgrade in VR tech, but God, it's really hard. It is really hard to root for them as a company in any way. Even if I support the one of the outcomes of the goal they're striving for, right? Anyway, yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what would be the best case scenario. Mine is that Meta fails, but all of their money and manpower at least yields something positive for other startups and other potential game developers to work with, right? God, can you imagine 20 years from now, Boneworks remastered? or remake, you know, for whatever new like VR technology we have 10, 20 years from now, it's going to be crazy. It really is going to be crazy. It's one of those things that I'm extremely excited for, and I don't think a lot of people really give VR enough credit. I think once you've tried VR on like a decent, like newer piece of hardware, I think you'll realize how much potential it has, and your mind will be blown. It is something else. It really is. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, you can help out my channel and my video and my stream, etc. by hitting the like button right down below. It is very simple, takes half a second, and it's completely free. And of course, if you want to see more from me and you want to support my channel, you can always subscribe and ring the bell icon down below to get notified by YouTube when I go live or upload a new video. And of course, you can comment as well so that YouTube pushes my content further in the algorithm. YouTube does love that engagement. And of course, if you want to see more from me online, you can follow my social medias linked down below as well. And finally, if you want to support me financially, you can always do so if you've got the money for it and you don't need it for anything else by subscribing, gifting a sub, or donating on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or through Patreon. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.